What's up YouTube, Tom from Tech.Stops.Here coming your way, and today we've got a bit of a comparison video for you guys. What we've got to do is just quickly review the form factor of three smaller crop sensor bodies that are digital camera bodies that are attracting a lot of hype at the moment. This isn't going to be a full review video. We're going to do a full review on each of the three actual cameras and then do a full comparison video once we've completed the test. This video is just to show you guys what the cameras look like, what they feel like to hold, where all the buttons are, and just sort of a comparison from one to the next for all you folks out there that don't have the benefit of holding and seeing all the cameras at the one time. You can sort of see how they look and feel compared to each other. So you've got the Fuji X100, a lot of hype about this camera right now. It's released about 4 or 5 months ago and it's a very hyped up camera. We've also got the Olympus PEN EP3 micro 4/3 camera, interchangeable lens on there as well. And then we've got the Sony NEX C3. So these cameras are really hot off the press at the moment, and this video is just to show you how they look and how they feel. So let's get into this video, but stay tuned for the full review videos and the full comparison between the three, where I'll recommend which one you should purchase for what purpose. Let's get into it. So as we can see there, you've got the Fuji X100, Olympus PEN EP3, and then the Sony NEX C3 camera right there. If we just go through the Sony, first of all, going up the top, as you can see, it's got quite a large lens on it right there. It does come with interchangeable lenses. This is an 18mm to 55mm, 3.5 to 5.6 aperture. It's got a 49 centimeter diameter filter size there, and like I did say, it is interchangeable, so you can remove the lenses and attach other lenses on there. It's got a zoom, goes in and out, and the autofocus. So just quickly run through it, keeping in mind these aren't review videos, rather the comparison videos. Right up the top there, you can see that it is quite a large camera in terms of the size, with the big lens coming out, especially when you zoom out and the lens comes out. And in respect to the body, it is actually pretty small. So although it's comfortable to hold because it's got this nice sort of ridge right there for your hand and your palm is sort of covering part of the LCD, which is quite a large 3-inch 921,000 dot screen resolution, but it is covering part of it. And it's a little bit short on the back end there down the bottom, so a little bit awkward to hold. Up the top, what you do have is you can attach, there is a separate flash attachment which does come with the camera, and you pop that in right there and that's your flash, but you do need to put that in separately. You got a play button, on off button, and the actual shutter button right there. On the right hand side there is nothing other than a strap adapter right there. It does come with a strap. On the left hand side, got an HDMI port, a USB 2.0 port and an HDMI port down the bottom, so you can export your HD video that you do record on this camera. You've got the dedicated movie button right there, and then you've got the control buttons right here. On the back, 912,000 dot resolution LCD screen. It is a 3-inch, and it is actually a adjustable screen, which is an absolute fantastic thing to have on this camera, because you can be shooting at all different angles and you can adjust this screen to see how or what you're shooting. One thing to note, there's no optical viewfinder in here whatsoever. You can't attach a permanent one, and there's none inbuilt in there, so you're using the LCD screen at all times to compose your image. Underneath, connect your tripod right there, pretty stock standard, nice aluminium connection. That's where you put your SD card. It does take SD cards, and then your battery goes right here. That's your battery. So that's the form factor of the Sony NEX C3. Body wise, it is a little bit smaller than all the others, but the lens is much bigger. Keeping in mind you can put a different lens on the Olympus PEN EP3. If we just move across to the Olympus PEN EP3, this one again, micro 4/3 interchangeable lens, so you can open it up and you can change the lens right there. Comes in a single and twin kit, and this one here, the lens is a 14mm to 42mm 3.5 to 5.6 aperture range. So like the Sony, not a very large aperture at 3.5, and it is a variable lens. Just going on first impressions, it is a bigger body than the Sony NEX C3, and it's a little bit more comfortable to hold. As you can see there, I'm not covering up the screen with my hand as I'm holding it. Also has this nice contoured feel to it right there, and it has a steel or aluminium body with a nice brushed metal finish, and it looks absolutely fantastic. First impressions when you pick this up are excellent. So this one here has got a 12.3 megapixel sensor, whereas the Sony has a 16 megapixel sensor. Also has a 3-inch screen at the back there. It is a fixed screen, so it's not a swivel or rotatable screen. If we just go across the features at the top here, this here is actually your flash that pops out. So unlike the Sony where you have to plug it in permanently, or the Fuji where you'll see it's a permanent flash in a moment, you push this button right there and it pops straight out, as you can see there. Very clever feature. So very clever feature there. Up here you've got a hot shoe, which the Sony didn't and the Fuji does. You can plug in an external flash here, or you can also plug in an optical viewfinder. So it will actually take the image that the LCD screen is seeing, but you can use it as an optical viewfinder. That's a very good feature, and something that the Leicas also have. It is an extra expense of about $200 or $300. Don't quote me on that, but it's around there. On the top here, you've got your function dial, a shutter dial there, so you can auto, manual, aperture priority, whatever it may be. And then you've got a separate function button right here, which allows you can customize that, and you can change it for ISOs or white balance, whatever it may be. On-off switch. On the back, you've got the 3-inch screen there. It's actually, the resolution is 614,000 dots compared to the 900 odd thousand in the Sony. You've got a record button and a search button. You've got more function and play buttons here, and a deletion button, menu button, and a scroll wheel there to control your menu. And you can also do things like EV compensation and flash control and so forth. On the right hand side, you've got a USB port and an HDMI port, similar to the Sony right there. On the left hand side, nothing to report, and that's the right hand side. Underneath, again, your tripod mount there. This is all sort of a metal and metal plastic composite. And then you've got your battery and SD card slot in the one actual compartment. That's pretty stock standard. And that's the Olympus PEN EP3. Compared to the Sony, it feels a little bit more solid, and it has more sort of DSLR settings up here with a dedicated function turn button there and so forth. So a little bit more DSLR like. If we just flip these around so you can see the other view whilst I'm talking about the Fuji. So this is the Fuji X100. This one's got a 12.3 megapixel sensor, APS-C CMOS sensor, same megapixel range as the Olympus PEN EP3. The screen on the back, slightly lower resolution at 460,000 dots, and it's a 2.8 inch screen compared to the 3 inches on the other two cameras. This is straight away, you feel it's heavier to hold. You'll see that the actual body is slightly bigger to the Olympus PEN EP3. Just see there, it is slightly higher and slightly wider than the Olympus, but it is very nice to hold, and it's got a good solid feel. There's a good construction mix between aluminium used there and plastic, and it's got that classic old viewfinder sort of look to it that Fuji used to create. Few aftermarket things, there's a soft release there, and this handle does not come with the camera. It comes with a conventional neck strap similar to the Olympus. But the first thing you note, it does have a fixed prime lens on there, so it is much smaller. It's a 23mm lens, which after the crop factor equates to 35mm, a standard 35mm range, and it's got a constant aperture f2 lens there, so it's much quicker than the other two cameras, which are around the 3.5 range. Get better bokeh and better low light performance with that one. but we haven't tested them all, so stay tuned for the review. If we just look at this straight up, slightly different to the others, where you control your aperture range here via this sliding actual mechanism here, and your zoom function and your focus function here. There's no zoom on the Fuji X100 because it is a fixed prime lens. Moving to the top, you've got a hot shoe rack right there which you'll connect your flash to, because on the back, unlike these two, there is an optical viewfinder which you can see straight through there. So you can see, you might be able to see my hand going through there. That just goes straight through. And the good thing about the Fuji X100 is the first camera that's got an optical viewfinder with a digital overlay on the top of it. So yeah, it's very unique in that respect. You can also make the optical viewfinder an actual digital LCD screen in there to see exactly what you're seeing on the back, or you can just use the LCD screen on the back to compose your image. On the top there, you've also got your shutter speed, similar to an analog camera. It's just the actual knob you turn around there. You've got your shutter button there and an on-off switch. And then you've got your EV compensation dial, so if you want it brighter or darker, and a function button right there which you can customize for a whole bunch of scenarios like ISO or white balance and so forth. And this little trigger right at the front there, that's actually to change the style of viewing through the electronic viewfinder itself. So whether it's a digital overlay or just an optical viewfinder, or to have it turned off, that controls it there. You've also got the flash, a dedicated flash on the front, compared to the pop-out for the Olympus and the attachable for the Sony right there. On the back, you've got your control dials on the left-hand side, and on your right-hand side, you've got menus. You've also got a dial rocker up the top, and then also a spin wheel there. So more akin to a DSLR in controls. The buttons are very small, and this menu OK button probably isn't designed in the best position because it's hard to push without pushing these sort of left and right dials there. Flipping it, well, on the left hand side, you control your focus, your autofocus and manual focus points through here. And then on the right hand side, if we just flip this switch, HDMI output and a USB, mini USB port right there, exactly the same to these two cameras here. Underneath, you've got you'll see this is a metal construction again with a nice plastic sort of wrapping around. Connect your tripod up there, flip this switch underneath, and you've got a battery and SD port right there. So they are the three cameras. You've got the Fuji X100, Olympus PEN EP3, and also the Sony NEX C3. All very similar and all very different at the same time. So watch the review in a couple of weeks. I'll test all of these cameras out separately and do separate reviews, and then do a comparison video letting you guys know exactly which one you should purchase for which reason, for what scenario. Don't forget to let me know what you think by posting below in this video in the comments section, or you can hit me up on Twitter at Tech.Stops. This is Tom from Tech.Stops.Here. Catch you guys next time.